Ladies, let me share something straight from the heart. When a man does you wrong, the smartest move isn't to tangle yourself in games or send mixed signals. It isn't to post cryptic quotes, spark drama, or write a trilogy of paragraphs he'll skim anyway. No. The move he won't see coming, the move that disorients him and reclaims your power, isn't noise, it's poise. It's choosing to move in a direction he never predicted, with grace, with stillness, with self-command. Men are conditioned to prepare for an emotional storm when they mess up. They brace for tears. They rehearse for yelling. They expect the late-night monologue in 4 screenshots and a follow-up message starting with, "and another thing." They've already budgeted for the dramatic post that gets 62 "you deserve better" comments. That's the script they know. That's the stage on which they've learned to perform. What they do not prepare for, what scrambles their certainty, is a woman who refuses that script entirely. A woman who doesn't behave in the way he predicted. A woman who chooses elegance over uproar, whose silence weighs more than shouting ever could. That kind of peace? That kind of restraint? It unsettles a man who thrives on steering your emotions like a wheel. When you're hurt, the most natural reflex is to react. Of course it is. You're human. You feel disappointed, betrayed, blindsided. You want him to finally grasp the gravity of what he did, to feel even a fraction of the sting he handed you. But here's the thing. A reaction, especially the reaction he forecasted, hands him leverage. When a man realizes he can poke at your feelings and draw predictable fireworks, he knows he still has access. He knows your emotional thermostat is parked in his kitchen. That is why the real play, the move that confuses him into reflection, is to respond, not react. There's a difference. Reaction is instant, raw, and unfiltered. Response is considered, deliberate, and powerful. A reaction tries to prove a point to him. A response preserves your point for yourself. So instead of arguing, allow silence to do your heavy lifting. Instead of proving why you're worthy, remember that you are. Instead of writing a thesis on how deeply he wounded you, let your absence say everything he refused to hear. Instead of chasing answers, you choose your peace. And instead of pleading for respect, you carry yourself like a woman who will not tolerate anything less than respect as the baseline. Let me tell you something about men and the energies they can withstand. He can endure an argument. He can sit in a shouting match and feel energized by the sparring. He can manage tears, because tears to him can signal that he still matters enough to make you cry. What makes him actually pause, what shakes him in a way noise never will, is a woman who steps away from nonsense and keeps walking with dignity. That energy is unpredictable, unfathomable, and quietly powerful. That woman becomes a riddle he can't easily solve. Picture this. He finally reaches out after causing damage. In his mind, he's geared up for round 2. The back and forth, the debate, the emotional tug-of-war. Instead, he receives this. "Thank you for the clarity. Take care." And then, nothing more. No pleading. No chasing. No, but why did you? You leave him in the stillness he created and let him stew in it. Confusion begins right there. He starts to wonder why you could walk away so easily, how your world didn't disintegrate without his attention, why your voice no longer trembles around his name, because men rarely digest lessons delivered by explanation. They assimilate lessons taught by experience. You don't need to shout what he did wrong 100 different ways. You don't need to explain your worth like a pitch deck. He learns the moment he realizes you're not playing his game, you're not triggered by his prompts, and you're not available for emotional theatrics. You're elevating, not engaging. That's when the questions begin to form in his mind. Did I fumble something irreplaceable? Let's be plain. Plenty of men secretly assume that when they withdraw, your world collapses a little. They convince themselves that their absence is a wrecking ball to your routine. They tell themselves that you'll be stuck watching the door, waiting for the knock that says he's decided to return. But what they never anticipate, and what confounds them to the core, is that you rise higher instead. You become more you, more focused, more peaceful, more magnetic, and you do it without their presence. That is a reality some men simply are not built to handle. This is why the best investment you can make after being wronged isn't in proving anything to him. It's in pouring into you. Focus on your glow-up, not as a prop for his regret, but as a devotion to your future. Hit the gym because your body deserves care and strength, not because he's scrolling your photos. Double down on your craft, your career, your art, because your destiny is calling, not because he might see a story. Elevate your style and refine your space so that you feel at home in your life. Fortify your boundaries and surround yourself with people who don't need a reminder to value your presence. When you fill your own cup, your aura communicates respect before your mouth ever opens. Here's the magic of that kind of glow. He starts to remember why he was drawn to you in the first place, and why he took it for granted. But it isn't just the outer transformation that registers. It's the fire in your eyes and the ease in your stride. It's the woman who knows her worth so deeply that pleading becomes impossible. She doesn't beg for love. She invites it by being whole. That is the essence of high-value energy. Abundant, centered, and unbothered. And when he notices that you've detached from the idea that he's required for your joy, he doesn't know what to do with himself. Detachment is not indifference. It's comprehension. It's understanding that peace is not found in proving a case to someone who refused to listen. It's found in refusing to argue about your value ever again. Your peace says, I love me enough to choose calm over chaos. I choose clarity over confusion. I choose me. Men expect drama. They expect an angry scene or a long verdict. They expect the signal that they still sit near the control panel of your feelings. That's why choosing peace is the power move they never prepare for. Remaining calm in the face of disrespect does something to a man's mind that shouting never could. It forces him to sit alone with his choices. It compels him to question himself instead of defending himself. Because here's a truth many overlook. A man rarely does his deepest thinking while you're scolding him. He rarely reflects while you're essay writing about the pain he caused. But when you step back, when you unplug from the cycle, when you stop performing your hurt for him, that silence becomes a mirror. He's left with himself, and the reflection isn't flattering. He begins to understand the weight of what he gambled, the rarity of what he mistreated, the reality that not everyone circles back to the same door. A man will always remember the woman who walked away with dignity more than the woman who stayed arguing, begging or trying to coach him into seeing her value. Distance speaks loud. Space is a language. When he no longer has access to the emotions he toyed with, when he can't pull you into his drama or lure you into a reaction, the dynamic changes. That's when he feels power slipping from his grip. That's when confusion sets in and regret follows close behind. So choose peace, not as a disguise for fear, not because you can't face a difficult conversation, but because peace is the one terrain he doesn't know how to navigate if he's used to steering with chaos. When you choose peace, you transform from being reactive to being intentional. You stop carrying the burden of trying to change a person who isn't interested in changing. You stop feeding energy to someone who took your presence for granted. Instead, you reroute that energy into your own healing, your own joy, your own progress. When a man sees that you found peace without him, he starts interrogating his own assumptions. He wonders why you aren't angry anymore, why you're not pleading for clarity, why you're not trying to draw his attention with a flare. And the truth dawns. You have moved forward. You found something more fulfilling than his validation. You found yourself. Choosing peace doesn't erase the fact that you were hurt. It simply means you respect your soul too much to let someone's chaos vandalize your joy. It means you trust that what's meant for you won't require begging, chasing, or breaking your dignity to keep. Master that, and you become untouchable in the best way. Untouchable by pettiness, by manipulation, by the pull of old cycles. An untouchable woman is not cold. She's clear. She's not bitter. She's boundaried. And she knows how to walk away from what diminishes her without staging a spectacle that dilutes her power. When someone wrongs you, the impulse to prove a point can be strong. To show him what he lost. To make him feel the weight of his mistake. But you don't need to prove your worth to someone who misplaced it in the first place. The real power move is to walk out like you were never trapped and let your life speak on your behalf. Because distance, my love, is the loudest message. Distance clarifies. Distance reveals. Distance closes the door without a speech. If he thinks he still has a hold on your heart, he'll look for signs. Are you struggling without him? Are you checking his page? Are you asking about him through mutuals? Are you throwing signals into the void, hoping he'll read between the lines? Once he senses those breadcrumbs, he reassures himself there's a seat left for him in your world. But when he gets nothing, no anger, no pleading, no thirst for attention, it shakes him. He realizes he lost access. That's a feeling many men are profoundly unprepared to face. And that is why walking away without a scene is the greatest confusion you can offer the man who hurt you. While he expects you to unravel, you're quietly rebuilding. While he waits for you to reach out, you're too busy reaching up. While he projects that you'll be there when he circles back, you're already miles down a better road. By the time he finally understands the rarity of what he had, your life has flowered so fully that whether or not he regrets it no longer concerns you. This is the incomparable power of silence. Silence invites reflection. Silence invites realization. Silence requires him to come to terms with what he lost, without you mouthing the lesson. And when it finally dawns on him that he let go of something rare, something valuable, something he may never be offered again, the impact lands. Not because you lectured him into understanding. Not because you performed your pain convincingly enough. Because you withdrew entirely and allowed reality to deliver the syllabus. No second invitations. No back and forth marathons. Just a woman who knows exactly who she is and refuses to entertain anything that doesn't align with that truth. Nothing confuses more. Nothing reverberates longer. Nothing commands more respect. Men often assume there's time. Time to play. Time to circle back. Time to treat you casually until the day they decide to treat you correctly. They act like you'll always be available in the waiting room, holding the idea that one day they'll snap into maturity. But a woman anchored in self-worth isn't waiting on anyone to feel ready to treat her right. She isn't handing out endless chances or drafting reminders of the basics. She isn't holding her breath for him to evolve. She's already moving. She's already healing. She's already choosing the path where she doesn't have to beg to be seen. And that, more than any speech, rattles a man. The minute he registers that you were never merely an option but an opportunity, that he wasn't the prize, you were. It reframes the entire story. You didn't beg him to treat you well. You reclaimed your power and walked toward a future that does. Many men grow comfortable believing they can come and go. They assume that even if they hurt you, there will be a soft landing for their return. That assumption often holds true until it doesn't. Until a woman decides the carousel ride is over. When she does, the dynamic flips. Panic begins where complacency lived. A man who believes he has endless time will take you for granted. A man who realizes time has run out starts to measure what he squandered. He revisits the moments he should have honored you. He sees you the way he should have from the very start, clear, luminous, and out of reach. By then it's too late. The woman who once might have waited is no longer that woman. She has grown past him, healed beyond him, and elevated to a place he cannot access. That's why men often come back only after you truly move on. Not when you cry, not when you argue, not when you produce proofs of your pain. They return when your energy is no longer connected to theirs, when your joy no longer references their attention, when your future is lit by a vision that makes their presence irrelevant. They realize they miscalculated. But by the time that realization dawns, you've transformed from a good woman they lost to a great woman they can't even approach. Time is precious. Don't invest it in people who can't see you. Don't donate it to anyone who refuses to value you. The instant you pull your time, energy, and love out of the wrong situation, you create room for what's right. That is how you win. Not in a petty way, but in a permanent way. One of the most common traps after heartbreak is revenge. We fantasize that if he could feel our pain, if he could watch us win in a way that needles his regret, we'd finally be satisfied. But revenge doesn't stitch your wounds. It just keeps you tied to the person who opened them. The longer you stay tethered to that energy, the longer your peace stands outside the door waiting for you to let it in. When someone hurts you, your first impulse might be to get even. Post something to spark jealousy. Entertain someone you don't even like to prove a point. Or try to orchestrate guilt like a stage play. But all of that communicates the same message. He still has power over your focus. If you truly didn't care, if you were genuinely moving on, your attention would be elsewhere, on living your life, not scripting a reaction for his eyes. The real flex is peace. Not because you're weak, not because you're giving anyone a pass, because you understand that your energy is too rare to waste on someone who didn't respect it. Peace is you taking back your steering wheel. Peace is you deciding that what someone did will not define your mood, your day, your story. Peace is choosing your mental and emotional well-being as non-negotiable. It is choosing to walk away without carrying resentment like luggage. That's what truly confuses anyone who thought they could control you through hurt. They expected chaos, and you handed them calm. People prepare for anger. People brace for bitterness. People expect pettiness. That's the language everyone rehearses. When you stop speaking that language, when you decline to perform, folks start to question their script. They wonder why you're not bothered, why you're not grasping for a final word, why you're not trapped in the same mess they wanted to pull you into. And that's when the truth cracks open. They never had as much control over you as they imagined. Choosing peace doesn't mean ignoring your feelings or pretending you're invincible. It means acknowledging your pain and prioritizing your healing over clinging to negativity. It means believing that what's meant for you will never require you to abandon yourself. It means you make room for what belongs in your life by releasing what doesn't. No fireworks needed. Because at the end of the day, true power isn't in revenge. True power is in knowing when to let go of what no longer serves you and never looking back. When you carry yourself with grace instead of rage, you don't just recover, you rise. You don't just get through, you glow through. And that level of self-possession, that level of serenity, that's a room most people will never enter because it's reserved for those who choose themselves consistently. So, ladies, when a man does you wrong, don't waste your brilliance proving anything to him. Let your boundaries be your explanation. Let your distance be your declaration. Let your life be your loudest statement. Respond, don't react. Elevate, don't engage. Remember, don't rehearse. Step out from the noise and into your knowing. Move like a woman who understands her value so completely that access to her peace is a privilege, not a right people can keep after squandering it. Let him wonder. Let him reckon. Let him sit with the choices he made and the silence you created. And while he sorts through confusion, you go build a life so rich that his name becomes a footnote you barely remember how to pronounce. You are not here to be an emotional playground for someone else's immaturity. You are here to be the main character in your own evolution. Choose the path that protects your spirit. Choose the calm that keeps your crown fixed. Choose the life that reflects the love you have for yourself. And if anyone asks how you did it, you won't need a speech. You'll just smile, keep your head high, and keep walking. Because a woman who moves with grace doesn't chase validation. She creates it from within. That right there is the kind of move no one anticipates and everyone remembers.